And they kind of looked back, and I'll never forget, they looked back and they were just kind of like, all right.
Okay.
Like, almost like
Yeah.
like, I hate, I don't mean this language, but I can't think of anything else. Like, okay, you win. You win.
Yeah.
We like the
You
bubbles.
got it. You got me. Yes. Yeah. Okay. Hello, 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 and welcome to Well Shit. It really is that simple. I'm Claire.
And I'm Serena. On this podcast, we help you to understand about your 12 universal needs, why they are currently not being well met,
How to meet them in ways that work for you, and how to consistently do so in quick, easy, and simple ways that fit seamlessly into your life.
We'll also help you to understand how doing so will have a positive ripple effect in literally every area of your life.
If you like what you hear, come and join the conversation in our Facebook group.
And enjoy the show.
Hello, hello, hello.
Hey, everyone.
So we just learned something new today. Like, we've had technical revelations on the podcast. You are hearing it here first. So we're in a bit of an interesting position right now because we bought new microphones and new mic stands and everything. Oh, I don't know how many months ago now. Maybe
It's like December.
4
so like
months ago.
Yeah.
Yeah. So but the thing is that because I was traveling to the UK and I was trying to travel light to the UK, the new setup is a little bit heavier than our current setup. So I'm still working with the old mic setup, and Serena has the new mic setup. So I'm like, okay, it is what it is. It'll be fine. I'll get mine when I get back to the US. But the last couple of times that we have recorded, I'm like, the sounds really like almost tinny is like the word that kind of comes to mind. Sounds a bit harsh, doesn't sound as warm. And so I think I mentioned that to you last time, didn't I? And I was like,
we were trying to figure it out and
what it was. And even like when I was editing like the last two episodes, I'm like, why does my mic sound better than Serena's? Because Serena's got the better mic between the two of us. I'm like, maybe there's a setting on it. And I'm like, but I thought it was a plug and play microphone. Apparently it is a plug and play microphone. It needs to be plugged in order to work though. So,
yeah, if you see the video in the last episode, it's definitely just dangling there. I'm like, when did this get pulled out? And I'm like, I don't know if it got plugged in.
The good news is we're all up and running now. So, yeah, it's, and this is not a Serena thing. This is like either one of us could have done this sort of shit. Like this is definitely, our kind of thing to do this. So yeah, we just had a little bit of a giggle about that before starting to record. I'm like, I'm just so relieved we figured out what it was. Cause I'm like, are these mics not that great? Do we need to return them? Like, no, apparently not. We just need to plug them in. So who knew? So today we are talking about something that really is in mine and Serena's wheelhouse. Like this is our jam, the stuff that we're talking about today. So we mentioned it a few episodes ago, like just kind of briefly, but I felt like it really deserved its own episode because I think people underestimate the extent to which doing this can support your needs. So this whole thing got prompted by, I have my phone here, still on airplane mode, so it's not going to affect the microphone. About a week or so ago, I was scrolling and I saw a post, and I will share with you what the post said because I took pictures of it so that I can share the ideas. So it basically says, I recently saw a TikTok where a woman asked, quote unquote, girlies, what are some things you do to be more whimsical? I love knowing cute little habits. And the response, and this person says, and I've never loved a comment section more. Some of my favorites. So we're just going to go through some of the examples that are here. If I can figure out, which one I need to scroll on my phone. Yes. So the first one is, I wear matching pajamas every time I change my sheets so I can have what I call fancy sleep. I hold quote unquote office hours every Tuesday at a local coffee shop, which means I sit on the couch and order drinks for 4 to 5 hours while various friends and acquaintances visit me to yap about books and gossip. just think that's the cutest thing. If I want to have negative thoughts about myself, I have to think them in a Cockney accent. I say, my lady, every time I walk past a mirror. I teach the dog how to do things either to make them more interesting for me. Let me show you how to start a load of laundry, or just to make him feel included. Do you remember how to make coffee, or should I walk you through it again? I know it's hard to remember since you can't practice without thumbs. I think it's lovely. I tell my dishes it's bath time. Whenever I drop or fuck something up and I'm alone, I bow and say, and seen, instead of getting frustrated. I've done this for so long that I literally no longer get annoyed by my own mistakes, and laughing is my first instinct anytime anything goes wrong. I like drinking water at night out of small wooden bowls. It makes me feel like I'm being nursed back to health by sprites. So cute. I tell my hamster not to answer the door for anyone before I leave. I wash dishes by candlelight, listening to medieval tavern music, and pretend I'm a tavern wench. Can you hold this,
Joe
please?
might like that one.
I think he might like that one too. In quotes, can I hold this, please? When I set my purse on an inanimate object. Or can you hold this, please? Sorry. I call my to-do list my ta-da list and do jazz hands as I tick things off. I can so see you doing this. Like, that's got Serena written all over it.
I shall officially start my ta-da list.
I say, well, thank God. Good thing no one overreacted out loud to myself after a good cry. I love these. I'll add one. Whenever I buy something online and it asks, is this a gift? I write little gift messages to myself, usually along the lines of something along the lines of, you're awesome and deserve these little treats. Listen to French music in my headphones while I grocery shop. Makes it feel more romantic and less mundane. When I leave the house, I always tell my dog no parties while I'm gone, and then laugh so he knows he is 100% allowed to throw parties if he wants. When the cat clearly wants something and meows at me, I tell her, use your words. My friend crocheted this little jellyfish for me. Every time I go to the beach, I take Jelly Clarkson and take a picture. I'm just going to show it up to the screen. Aww. So if you're watching the video, you can see it's the cutest thing. Sometimes a couple of hours before bed, I go in my room, turn down the bed, spray a bit of lavender, maybe light a candle, put my water with lemon on my bedside table. When I get ready to go to bed a couple of hours later, I walk in and say, I love turn down service, as though it's a pleasant surprise. I say, may I take your coats when peeling garlic? Whenever I hang out with friends who have babies and I'm inevitably sitting with said baby, I amuse myself by pretending the baby and I are in deep conversation about geopolitics, philosophy, or economics, and that the baby has some outstanding opinions. I like to believe the baby appreciates a break from the traditional baby talk too. Whenever I pull into the garage, I say, docking bay 1, making final approach, ready for landing. I tell the cat, be good, and if you can't, be beautiful. My 15-month-old daughter has started to babble it up all day, with only every 10th word or so being discernible English. Whether in public or alone, I like to respond to each babble as if we're discussing something serious, like a teenage family member who can't stop getting in trouble. Well, you and I both told him, but we can't force him. Babble, babble, yeah. I kiss my cat on both cheeks, and then she kisses me on both cheeks, and then I explain she's European to no one. So I taught my dog to obey completely random words. Ashtray, she sat. Doorknob, she rolled over. Kumquat, she sat up. I think that's awesome. Whenever I can't find something, I say out loud, okay, that's enough. Give it back right now. And then the elves who took it hear me and put it back where they found it. I always try to remember to write myself a postcard while I'm on a trip. It's like a little diary entry I can read at home to remind me of my vacation. And there are more of these, but I'm going to say, so this is my last one because this is one of my favorites, is I call morning things like brushing my teeth, taking my meds, doing my face routine, fixing my hair, etc., my little rituals, and tell myself I'm casting spells for a good day at work. In my journal, I'll write something like, face ritual done, now I can face the world. I work from home, I ain't facing shit, but I did my little ritual and made a little magic. And the thing I loved about that is that it's finding ways of meeting bonus needs, like it's enhancing your needs by doing things either to enhance things that maybe are boring. So it's like I don't enjoy doing this, so what's a way I can do this that I'm going to make it more enjoyable? I am going to be able to meet my needs while I'm doing it. Or it's things that just add a little something extra to things that you do on a regular basis that give you that little boost. And we talk about on the in the program, we talk about the ding ding dings and the bonuses. So the ding ding dings are things where you do things that meet a need in one way and it meets multiple other needs at the same time by doing that one thing. Or the bonuses is like the little, like, oh, that's another thing that meets my needs. And like, it's not something I intended to do today to meet my needs. It's like a little bonus. And I think these are almost like bonuses. I don't know if that's like the way to describe it, but it's like sprinkles on top of sprinkles, in the sense that these are not things that you would expect to meet your needs, but by doing them in the way that they're being done, they are actually, like, even just if what it's doing is it's bringing a little bit of joy or a little bit of playfulness or a little bit of fun into your life, what you're doing is you're connecting with all of those emotions, which is expanding your emotional experience and expression need. Like, you're getting your emotions, you're connecting with more emotions, and you're cultivating, because when we talk about the emotional experience and expression need, and I think this is probably the need that is most met by these things. But I mean, there are others as well. We'll get into that. But I think that it's important to remember there are two aspects to the emotional experience and expression need. The first is being able to allow yourself to fully feel, process, and healthily express the full spectrum of emotions that you are feeling. So it's like, when I'm feeling something, I'm going to allow myself to feel it. I'm going to allow myself to process it. The second part of the emotional experience and expression need is cultivating more of the emotions that we want to feel. And I think this is where whimsy comes in, is that these, like, when we do these little whimsical things, these are the things where we connect to what are the emotions that we maybe don't connect to as much, or we want to connect to more. So as I said, things like fun, things like joy, things like playfulness. And I think that some people might look at these things and say, oh, that's childish to do that. And I'm going to suggest that actually it's not childish, it's childlike. You don't have to, like, for me, if somebody is being childish, they are operating in the world as if they are a child, i.e., what they're doing normally, this is what normally somebody is describing if somebody's being childish, is that they are expecting the world around them to meet their needs and they're not taking any responsibility for meeting them themselves. That's childish behavior. Childlike behavior is connecting to things that we maybe liked as a child, or that we that tend to be in our society reserved for children, like, as in, like, adults aren't supposed to do them, in order to connect to emotions that were a lot of the time much more present as children than they are as adults. And obviously, depending on your childhood, that's different. But like, using your imagination is something I think children do much more than adults do. Like connecting to awe and wonder and joy and fun and playfulness. These are all things that in adult life we've kind of diminished or muted. And by consciously choosing, saying, I'm not looking to the rest of the world to meet my needs, I'm an adult, I'm an adult and I can meet my needs myself, and I'm choosing to meet them in ways that actually connect me back to my inner child, or connect me back to things that I remember from childhood, or things I would have liked to have done in childhood but weren't able to. And I think that this is so underrated. Like, doing these sorts of things is so underrated. And I think people I think part of the reason they're underrated is people underestimate the amount of joy that these small little things can do. Like, it's like, and I'm going to take this a step further, in that I saw another video earlier today, when this kind of whimsy can sometimes actually be taken a step further and be used as a tool to try to actually mitigate issues and challenges in your life. So I saw another video earlier today where this woman was sharing that if her and her husband, they want to address things with each other without the other person getting defensive, or the other person like feeling criticized or judged or what have you, they have created an imaginary roommate called Patrick. And whenever something is done that either one of them doesn't like, they blame Patrick and ask the other person if they could talk to Patrick. It's like, oh my God, Patrick left the lights on last night. Would you talk to him about that, please, for me? And like, oh God, Patrick, I'll have a chat with him. Don't worry, I'll take care of it. Or it's like someone left all the kitchen doors open. Patrick left the kitchen doors open again. Can you believe that? Oh my God, did he really? Don't worry, I'll talk to him and sort it out. So this is the way that you can kind of bring a level of whimsy into situations that could be kind of contentious, and you can use that fun and playfulness and that sense of whimsy to not only make dealing with those things easier, but actually remove some of the angst and the feeling of confrontation. Because as the person said in this video, it's now us against Patrick, like us against this rubbish roommate Patrick. We're in it together. Patrick's the problem, not either one of us. And it keeps you on the same team rather than you feeling like you're on opposite teams and you're each fighting to get your needs met.
Well, and you can do this for yourself as well. Like Claire had mentioned an example of the woman who says "seen" when something goes wrong.
Yes.
I used to be recovering perfectionist. We've talked about this before, and a little bit rigid when it came to how things were supposed to look and how things were supposed to go, especially when it came to traveling. Like if I had planned something, because I like to plan, if it went awry, I went awry, and then everything went awry. And I started it quite a few years ago, and I don't think I finally realized what it was doing maybe about a year or two ago. But when things start going wrong, or where I travel full time, so like there's a lot of opportunity for things to not go as planned, going on an adventure,
right?
Like, and that helps. And it doesn't minimize the fact like shit's going down or things aren't going right, but it's like no matter what, this could be a good adventure or a bad adventure, but it puts my mind frame in to be like, something good could come out of this. This could just be like, you know, a fun little side quest that we're bound to do. Like, and those little things, like just that verbiage changes the mood. Cause I would get in it and I'd be like, oh, and it's not going right. And then I'd go down this spiral and just get myself all worked up. But the second I say it's an adventure, I'm like, all right, let's see where this adventure is bringing us. I'm a little bit more game to see what's going to happen because I kind of frame it this way.
And you're viewing it as an adventure rather than as an issue. Like I remember Serena and her husband went on a trip a couple of years back. And I mean, sometimes there are things on trips that go sideways. Sometimes there's so much that goes sideways. There's very, very little forward motion. And it was one of those trips. And like when she was telling me about it, when she got back, I'm like, holy crap. Like it was like one thing after the next, after the next, after the next, after the next. And the interesting thing is that, and it was interestingly because of the needs work, she came back, she was like, it was cool. Like, yeah, it was a thing. And obviously she wanted to address the issues with the people who had caused the issues. And yet by viewing the whole thing as an adventure, you were able to still have a lot of enjoyment and fun in times that you would not have had any enjoyment or fun if those exact same things had happened previously in life, right?
Absolutely. I mean, that I came back from that, like, if I wasn't like fully into what we did before that trip, and I came back and I saw the change because like Claire said, it was one thing after another. There was not a pause in the fuckery that went down on the stage. We were in a different country, so there was that aspect as well. And it was, and both of us were just like, all right, let's just see where the day
where this goes.
Like, there was one point where we were literally stuck in our hotel room for a day because we couldn't leave the hotel we were in because it was such a dangerous area. Like, and we're like, okay, like adventures in the hotel, and we watched a stupid movie, and it was just like, and it ended up being exactly what we needed. Or it could have been us festering on the bed in that room and filling that room with just icky
and
energy,
also getting angsty with each other. Like it easily could have turned on each other and created issues within the relationship that had nothing to do with the relationship. It was just a frustration about what was going on, and instead you created connection in that moment.
Yeah, and it was so weird walking away from it. I was like, look at me, look at us. Like, we did good. Like, this was a shitstorm. And even he would say, because he's been witness to my absolute meltdowns when it comes to this stuff. And it was like, it was a big step for each of us personally. It was a big step in our relationship. And I came out being like, if I can get through this trip and keep this kind of spirit about me, like, bring it on. Like, okay, like, let's just, like, every time I utilize that kind of verbiage and I put that frame on things, it helps me approach the next thing with less apprehension. And it helps, like, I feel like it kind of trains you for the next time. So it's even less of an issue the next time, because you're like, oh yeah, we do adventures all the time. Like,
yeah, we know how to do this. And the interesting thing is that it's a very interesting phrase that Serena used, because I could see some people being like, oh, this is the phrase I use when shit's going down and I want to turn it around, and it only be used in that context. Well, the interesting thing is, like, Serena and I are often, like, we're in the same place. One or others will be like, do you want to go on an adventure today? And we're like, sure. And go on an adventure basically means we're going to leave the house. We're going to go where we feel we want to go to begin with. And we're just going to see what happens. And we're going to, like, make decisions. We're not going to plan anything. We're just going to go with what feels right. And I mean, we have got up to some shenanigans by going for adventures. I'm not gonna lie.
It's a lesson in pivoting for sure.
Right, absolutely. And so this is the thing, is that this is it's a turn of phrase that is already associated with something good. And now it's not getting associated with shit going sideways. It is just a reminder that this could be an adventure if we choose to view it that way, versus hold on a second, everything's going wrong, crap. Here we are.
Yeah, and this isn't toxic positivity. This isn't slapping like the silver lining on. There are many instances which are certainly not adventures. They're just shitty instances. Yeah. It's taking the things that aren't like, okay, yeah, what happened on our trip, like, it was just one thing after another. But there was so many magical moments within that, that it's like, just, what are we going to focus on? What am I going to put my energy into? Where am I going to put my intentions? And it's like, no, we're still going to make this a good time. We're still going to make this a trip. We're still going to have an adventure, even if we're just adventuring around our hotel room. Like,
right. And also, like, what are we going to create? And I know we haven't done the shapes episode yet. They are coming, I promise. I suspect they will probably come when I get back to the US. So you got a little minute to wait still, and they are coming. But one of the things that is pivotal in that is the power of being in creator mode and choosing to create. And the thing is, like, if you think about an adventure, think about like an adventure movie. An adventure movie does not mean smooth sailing. It does not mean that everything goes fine and there's no moments of like fear or anxiety or like, oh shit, now what, or what have you. It just means it's part of the adventure. That is all part of it. And I think that's the thing I love about this particular turn of phrase, because I think that it allows for all the stuff, and it doesn't, like, I mean, trust me, Serena saw the stuff that was going sideways. But I can imagine her going, okay, so this is part of the adventure. What else is part of the adventure too? This is not all that exists in this moment. This is not the only thing that's present. And that wasn't like, it was a trip that was a significant investment. It was like once in a lifetime kind of, like, I can imagine people being like, this is the only time I'm going to get to do this. Like, how could all this be happening? And yet, and I think that there were things that you told me about as a result of viewing it as an adventure that actually came out of, like, that you wouldn't have experienced had the issues not happened. That were some of the highlights of that trip for you. And so it allowed those, but if you'd just been focused on the problems, you'd have missed those things. Those things you probably wouldn't have even engaged with them, right?
No. Oh, no, absolutely not. And I would have been oblivious to the fact that they were there right in front of me, or a possibility. Like,
yeah, absolutely. Well, and it's like, I've heard other people, like another sort of similar kind of thing. I don't know where I heard this either, but like when stuff happens, I've heard other people say plot twist, and like, okay, it's like, okay, this is not going as we thought. I mean, and they think about a plot twist. A twist is not always fun the entire time it's happening, but it's like, oh, we think that it's going this way. Oh shit. Oh, right. Okay. Plot twist. We're going in that direction now. Let's see where that takes us. And it's a similar kind of idea.
I trip and fall. It's called it's part of my dance. Like, make it part of your dance. And like, and that's something that, I mean, we actually we were in a second line in New Orleans, and like we learned that trying to dodge the potholes, and somebody's like, make it part of your dance, and I'm like, yeah. And so now it's like, you trip, you stumble, you fall, and it's like, all right. And you just kind of dance out of it, bust my ass, get up, and just kind of like meant to do
the
that.
thing that I learned from dancing for something, like the phrase was always style it out. Like, so it's like, no matter what it is, wherever you end up, style it out. That was all part of it. That was intentional. This was like
in performances. Oh, it's my solo. No, I just fucking messed up.
Absolutely. But you see how all of these are little things that we do to create magic in moments that other people would see misery, and only that. Like, go on.
Oh, just a quick one that I had when you said that, create misery. I'm like, oh, when I stopped dyeing my hair, as many people do when they decide, like, I'm just going to let nature do what nature is doing. Like, you get gray hairs, and there are a lot of emotions and feelings that go along with that for many, many reasons, whether it's the look, whether it's feeling of getting, like aging, all of those things. And I had a really hard time with that at first. And like, I'd commit to it, and then I'm like, oh, fucking, there I am, dyed again. And then COVID changed a lot of things. And I'm like, I'm setting out on a lifestyle where, like, having my hair dyed is not a priority. It's not even in the realm of like vision for me. I'm like, I'm just going to grow this out. But it was so hard, and I'd get in my head and I'd see every little gray hair that popped up till I started calling them my wisdoms.
Right.
The second I started calling them my wisdoms, I'm like,
oh, look,
you know what?
Got another wisdom.
I got another wisdom. Look at that sparkly little wisdom coming through. And it's so simple. So like silly. I want to say like,
I'm not sure what the end of the
whimsical.
sentence. I think sillily whimsical is a perfect. Okay, here's another example: making up words. How often do we make up words? I mean, you hear us do it. Like, I mean, it's a version of, like, you witness us doing a version of this on the regular on the podcast. There was a point in time where if we had stumbled over a word or mispronounced something, we would have stopped and edited it out and restarted. You just told me talking about adulting. Right, all over again, right? But it's like, now it's like, oh no, we're rolling with this. If this is what we're doing, we're gonna enjoy it. We're gonna have fun with it, because I think that if we have fun with it, I mean, and I could be wrong. You could be at home listening. Just get the fucking words right, girls. Come on, how hard is it? I mean, that could be what's going on. I mean, honestly, if you are, I apologize, but we're not going to change who we are. If this is not for you, listen to another podcast, because this is not, like, we're not changing this. It's taken us a long time to get to the point where we're comfortable being like, yeah, okay, we fucked up. How do we style this out? How do we make it fun? How do we? And we do. We're like, okay, we'll go with it. This is a new word now. And like, so yeah, sillily whimsical, did you say?
Yeah, sillily whimsical.
I mean, there we go. New phrase, like right there. And
hashtag it. Do they still use hashtags?
We do. I mean, in fairness, hashtags are normally things that other people would choose to write to find out things. I'm not sure anybody is going to come up with some of the hashtags that will come out of this episode, or half the episodes we come up with. But I think it's like looking at. So I think that when you're looking to bring in whimsy, it really helps to be intentional about it. Like, really to be mindful about what are you doing and why are you doing it. And like, this is true of anything that meets your needs. If you are aware of what you are doing and why you are doing it, i.e. you're doing this because it meets this need, it gives you that additional boost. Just being conscious of the fact that you're doing this because it meets your needs, it's actually going to fulfill your needs more, because that conscious awareness is going to allow you to feel it more. It's going to allow you to connect to it more than you would have done if you weren't aware of it. And so the times I think that it's really helpful to bring in whimsy are times when either it's not something that you enjoy, or something is not going according to plan. How can you bring in whimsy in a way that's going to ease the negative impact of that situation and help you to still be able to meet your needs in the context of whatever it is that's happening? The second is like, where can you do it, as I said, just to get that little extra sparkle on things that you might do all day, every day, and you don't really think about it, or you do it every day of the week and you don't really think about it. or it can be used as a way of, as I said, used as a tool to help in situations that maybe there's a little bit of difficulty. How can we bring whimsy in as a tool to help, again, ease the pressure, bring a little bit more lightness, a little bit more humor, a little bit more fun? Not that it's not serious what you're discussing or what you're dealing with. It's about bringing in another element as well, because so often when something is important to us, we get really serious about it. And it's okay to be serious about it. And you can be serious and bring in whimsy at the same time. Like Serena and I are very serious about the things that we do. Like we're very serious about spreading love to people. The reason we created the nonprofit that we founded is because we are serious about supporting the community. I mean, you better believe we're sparkling, like we're sprinkling whimsy all over that. Like it's something we take seriously, but how can we make it more fun for us, more fun for others? Just generally get more like enhance the experience as much as you possibly can.
I kind of feel like whimsy.
I can see you wanting to jump in, and I'm like, how much of a pause do I leave?
Yeah, I'm like, because I'm not sure if this is the right place to go, or the right place for this to go. But I feel like whimsy, like most things, like the more you start utilizing it, the more natural it becomes, and the more it just starts becoming part of your being. Like anybody who knows me knows I'm whimsical. Like I mean, I give names to all sorts of inanimate objects. Like if I have a connection with it, it gets a name. Like I showed on a previous episode, Woody T Box, like he has eyeballs. A lot of our things have eyeballs around our house because that little bit of like, we put things around in our space to elicit that whimsy, to elicit that giggle, that smile, that like, we're just so silly. Like it brings it to a moment of like realness, because things are serious. Like there's a lot of serious shit happening.
Oh yeah.
If you're adulting, there's serious shit happening. Like there's a lot to
deal with.
Yeah. And having that element to bring it in. And again, there's a lot of judgment, I think, when people first become whimsical, if they're fighting something. Like there used to be multiple versions of myself. Now you just get me. It's like you get me you get me with my ribbon wands, you get me with like all of the weird things I do because it makes me happy. And there's very few times where I'm being whimsical where somebody's like that, like giving me negative vibes about it. Mostly it's when you get like a bubble gun in your face accidentally, but I'm sure like I try to angle
up your nose, like down your throat, like
it's something that I've found brings joy to other people. And then I get that, that ding ding, because like I'm getting joy from it. Then somebody else is getting joy from it. And then they're like, we get to share that joy, which makes the joy so much more like.
Right. Okay. There's a few things that I want to speak to, and I'm trying to retain them all right now. And I don't think I'm going to be able to retain them or if like taking notes isn't going to work right now. So I'm just going to go with this. So I think that the first thing is that Serena is right in the sense that a lot of people avoid being whimsical because of the fear of judgment of what other people are going to think. The good thing with whimsy is it doesn't have to include anyone else to begin with. Like you can just do these, like how many of those examples that I listed out, nobody else would even know about unless they shared it. Like there's a couple maybe that other people would know, but most of them, they're things that they do for themselves, by themselves, with themselves, and nobody else would be any the wiser. And that's the beautiful thing with this is you can play with it to begin with in a safe space, i.e. in your own mind or when nobody else is about. You can figure out ways of doing this that allow you to just play with it and see what's the whimsy that works for you. And then the more comfortable you, because the thing is I think a lot of the time with this, there's a lot of self-judgment. Like we shouldn't be doing this. We shouldn't be silly. And so by doing it for yourself, by yourself, with yourself, you become more comfortable with it yourself. And the more comfortable you are with it, the far less reaction you're going to get from anybody else. And also the other thing is that as usual, one of the things needs lensing this is to say, hold on a second. One of the reasons that we're afraid of this is because we are dependent on, we're putting our needs being met is dependent on what other people think of us. And so if other people think great of us, great. And if they don't think well of us, oh, well, that's it. Our value needs in the toilet. But instead, if we can learn to meet our needs for ourselves, first and foremost, that's going to melt away a lot of that fear of judgment in anybody else. Like anybody who knows Serena and I knows that over the course of time we've been doing the work, the amount of fucks we have to give what anyone else thinks of us has dissipated to pretty much zero. And it's like, okay, you think I mean, how many people would dress up as fairies with bubble wands and bright rainbow glitter makeup on the regular, without really a care as to what anybody else thinks? I mean, I don't know that many people who would do that. It honestly, I don't think it even crossed my mind as something that might be considered odd. Like, I know it sounds like a weird thing to say.
Yeah, I mean, I was thinking the same thing. I'm like, it's Key West, so there is the line of odd and whimsy is a little bit different down there. And like, it's the same thing with really dressing up anywhere. Like, if there's an opportunity to put on a costume, Claire and I are usually in. And right
like
now,
front of the line.
I am not in an area that is generally whimsical.
That's true.
In any way whatsoever. And we went to Joe and I went to a Renaissance fair, and we're like, we're gonna dress up. Like, okay, let's dress up. Now the costume I wanted, I hadn't put on in a while, didn't quite fit, so I'm like, fuck it, I'm gonna wear Joe's onesie. I'm gonna be a dragon. And we just like didn't even think of the fact that was gonna be like
a thing,
weird, or like. And I went there and I was just like, yeah, I'm a dragon. Nobody said anything. Some people were like, oh, you're a dragon. I'm like, yeah. Like, it just, I mean, and it like, yeah, I don't even think of things as being really weird or whimsical, like, in that sense. Like, it doesn't strike me as like the fairy wings and bubbles and stuff was at all out of the norm. It's like, yeah, let's go spread joy. Let's go. And it started with spreading joy. Like, let's create joy. Now let's take that joy we've created and spread it.
Absolutely. And I think if you want to see how much whimsy can do for people, and again, like we did this initially in Key West. Key West is a little different. I think this is something that happens almost anywhere I go. Add bubbles.
Yeah.
Whatever you're doing, I remember there was we had a birthday celebration for me a few years back. It was the Bubbles and Bubbles and Bubbles celebration, because I had a thing that I used to do with a friend called Bubbles and Bubbles, where we used to drink champagne in a hot tub. And so we decided to bring actual bubbles. Now, this was not we're dressed up in like fancy dress, blowing bubbles. We literally were just riding bikes down the street or walking down the street with bubble wands, blowing bubbles. Like, it wasn't any particular event. It was like, it wasn't associated with anything. We were just blowing bubbles. And the number of people who, the second they see it, the first thing out their mouth is like, bubbles! Like, literally, like they become a child instantaneously. And the joy that it brings them. And if you ask that person, would you like are bubbles your thing? I can't think most people going, yay, I love bubbles. But that's the reaction when they see them. It's not something that they think of as being a particularly important thing for them. But the second they experience it, they see it. And it was so beautiful. And it's part of the reason that obviously part of the reason that we shifted to bubbles was because we wanted to make sure we were doing something that was not going to leave a mess anywhere that we went. So we started adding bubbles to different things that we did in Key West. People freaking love the bubbles. And in fact, the more bubbles, the better. Like, it's not even just like, hey, give me some bubbles. I mean, we have some bubble guns that churn out some, like, at a rate of knots. Everyone is asking, where can I get that? Where did you get that from? Like, where, like, it's amazing how something so simple can make such a huge difference. even just down to like one of the things that for me is, and this is not something that's unusual in Key West, we ride bikes a lot there. Putting fairy lights on your bike,
Mm-hmm.
it makes me smile every time I see my bike. When we go out on some kind of ride, I often will have a bubble machine in my basket so that I'm literally releasing bubbles as I am riding. Everybody, bubbles! It really is magical. And I think that's the thing, is that whimsy is something that brings a sense of magic into the mundane. And so often we have forgotten how to do that. And I think if you can find ways to recapture that, it can enhance your life in ways that I just don't know that I know how to put words to.
One of my favorite moments from that Bubbles birthday was we were in the parking lot just dancing with our Bubbles, and there was a couple walking towards us, and they were like, ugh, Bubbles. And like they were kind of like standoffish about the Bubbles, and as they walk closer, like, oh, we're gonna have to walk through the Bubbles. They had this kind of like attitude until they get to the point where they're in the Bubbles, and this woman was like, Bubble, like she just like it, like she hit the Bubbles, snapped, and then like she was in it, and they're both smiling, and they walk away, and they just kind of look
and just
back.
So you know, there was another way round. If they had wanted to avoid the bubbles, they could have done. It wasn't like we were forcing bubbles on people who did not want bubbles forced on them. But you're right. The second they walked through, and like it was like a light switch went on.
And they kind of looked back, and I'll never forget, they looked back, and they were just kind of like, all right, okay. Like almost like a like I don't mean this language, but I can't think of anything else. Like, okay, you win.
Yeah,
we like the bubbles.
You got it. You got me. Yes. Yeah. Okay. Like I call it the bubble bug. like yes. Yeah. It's like that whimsy. Like it's like it can be, and it can be contagious. Like it can be something that that spreads from person to person really quickly and really easily. And once you see, normally whimsy is something that will light people up. And once you see that light go on, you can almost see the ripple effect of it lighting other people as they go. And it really is beautiful. And it can be something that really can help you. If you are having something, if there's something that you are really struggling with, something that you really don't like doing, adding whimsy to it, oh my goodness, such a difference. So one of the examples for me is doing the accounts in my business. If you've been listening to the podcast long enough, you know, numbers and I, not the best of friends. I can do them. I just don't like doing them. It's not my wheelhouse. It's not the thing that I'm particularly great at. It's not where my genius lies. I don't enjoy it. I find it boring. I find it mundane. So I give myself an accounts dance party every time I finish doing the accounts. I put on a piece of music I want to dance that I like, and I will have a little dance around wherever it is I am. Like, I mean, I would do it anywhere, but I mean, normally it's somewhere within my, like it's normally in my house or somewhere like that. I can't tell you the difference it makes. And also like listening to music that I enjoy while I'm doing it, like finding things like it was funny. I remember that my sister is she's an accountant, and she used to help me with my accounts. And I remember this one time I came round to her place for her to help me with something, and she was like, okay, right, so Hairspray, the musical, was on the TV. She had a bar of chocolate, and anytime I got stressed, she just handed my toddler nephew to me and was like, "Here, play with him for a second." And it was like literally, okay, what are the things that we can bring to this experience that's going to make it more enjoyable? And it made such a difference. I'm like, this is the way to do this. Okay, how can I do this for myself? I'm gonna, if I get stressed, I get up, have a little dance party. And once I get done, that's my little celebratory dance party. There are so many things you can do for the things that you don't enjoy. And it maybe isn't something you do while you're doing the thing you don't enjoy. Maybe it's something you do immediately afterwards. So it's like, it's something to look forward to as a celebration for you doing the thing that you don't normally want to do. Oh my goodness, it can make such a difference. And that's what the needs work is all about. It's about finding the things that are going to boost you, whether it is a little bonus boost, whether it is making something that maybe depletes you a little bit, a little less depleting, whether it's something that if there's a way of doing it. I mean, like a great example is the clearing niggles thing. I don't think Serena had ever heard of a niggle before we spoke. Now, niggle is kind of normal everyday language in the UK. Like, that's not something that's outside of the norm, but it kind of sounds silly, kind of sounds funny. Like, it doesn't seem like a very serious, heavy subject that we need to talk about. So I'm like, hey, can I clear a niggle with you? Yeah, sure. Like, it makes the whole thing feel lighter than it would do without that terminology. And I think that's the thing that Whimsy can do, is that I almost don't have words for it, which is unusual for me because normally I don't struggle with that.
I feel like whimsy is an element that can make the world a better place. Like, because a lot of times whimsy brings smiles and it brings a lightness. And there have been multiple times where I've just decided that I was going on an adventure and I was going to spread whimsy with whoever. And, Claire and I have done it where we welcomed people onto the island and we just waved people on,
yes,
said good morning. And like, there was another time where one of my friends was in town. I was like, you want to dress up like unicorns and go, like, we had these big blow up unicorn costumes and we went like gallivanting around my neighborhood, which is not, it was not a like Key
it's
West
not a whimsical neighborhood.
No. And just the smiles, people are like, what the hell are you doing? We're like, we're just having a good time. And they're like, good for you. And it just made them smile. And it's like, you can spread a smile, and that in itself, like, there's something about sharing a moment with somebody that's in pure silliness in all of this serious stuff, to be like,
yeah. And as Serena said, I mean, and there are going to be places where you can't just run around in unicorn costumes. Like, we understand that. So this is why it's the good thing with Whimsy is it's completely flexible. Like, you can find ways of you can find ways of doing Whimsy without even leaving the room. You can find ways of doing Whimsy, like the whole, like, could you hold this for me, please? If you're putting your bag on an inanimate object, or you're telling your cat that it's European and that's why you're kissing on both cheeks. Like, that's something that nobody else ever needs to know about. And so what I encourage you to do when it comes to Whimsy is to think about those kind of three categories we talked about, like the ways of like making something enjoyable or adding a little magic to something that doesn't really feel enjoyable, or something you're not a big fan of, or something you might find a little difficult. Finding ways to enhance things that maybe you already enjoy and you're just adding a little extra sparkle to them, or it's something that just feels mundane. And by adding the whimsy, it makes it it makes something that otherwise would be kind of neutral into an enjoyable experience. Or look at, okay, where are their issues and where are the people that you can be whimsical with? Because I think whimsy is one of those things that, as I said, it's contagious. And once you allow your whimsy out, it's remarkable. Like, no, I mean, in the past, I wouldn't have gone full whimsy on somebody the first time we met them, because they might be like, oh, that's a whole lot of weird. And I'd be like, you are correct. Yes, it is. Want to join?
Welcome.
I would kind of drip feed my whimsy with people when you first meet them. But I think that Serena and I have exponentially increased our whimsy by being around each other.
Oh yeah.
Because we are each whimsical in our own right, and we each do whimsical things. But when we were like, oh, hold on a second. Wait, hold on. You do whimsy too? Oh, it is on. Like, and it's like, how can we out whimsy the whimsy we've done before? And it's like, we take these day-to-day things, and there's a reason that within our nonprofit, we talk, like, people talk about us spreading magic. We talk about spreading magic because that's literally how it feels. And it's whimsy is the vehicle through which we spread magic. Yes, there are other things that we do in terms of like serious fundraising and community initiatives, but even the community initiatives, there's a sense of whimsy around all of them. Everything that we do, there is always a sense of whimsy around it. And it's like, you get to spread that magic. You get to, like, it's almost like I said, it's almost like a, I don't want to get too, like fantasy land with what I'm saying, but it's almost like it feels like alchemy or sorcery. Like when you put two whimsical people together, it's like, oh, like the combination is greater than the sum of the parts kind of thing. It's like, Let's see what we can do.
Absolutely.
And I think we've created things that we never would have imagined we would have done, just because one little spark of whimsy in one of us has sparked a bigger spark in the other, which has sparked a bigger, and it grows and grows. It's like this like chain reaction of whimsy. And next thing you know, there's like confetti and glitter exploded in the place around you.
Yeah, I mean, it really, if you think back, it kind of started with my whimsy of buying 250 bubble wands for
Right.
to spread whimsy to children, and then I think majority of those wands went spreading whimsy amongst adults. Like,
I think you are correct. Yes. Like we were looking at, this is a great example. We were going to be part of an event, which is a very adult focused event. And there aren't many child friendly events that are part of this kind of wider festival. And one of them was a child friendly event, but it was still like the children weren't really the focus of the event. And we were like, how can we make this more about the kids? How can we help them feel involved, help them feel like this is something for them? It's not just something the adults are dragging them along to. So yeah, Serena bought 250 bubble wands. So for the next event that we were going to hand out bubble wands. Then COVID hit and the event didn't happen. And all of a sudden we had all these bubble wands. And it was amazing. Like, you can add bubble wands to anything.
yep.
Trust. Like, literally. And it was like, should we like bring some bubble wands? Oh yeah, let's bring some bubble wands to that. And I think you're right. Most of them went to adults. And the joy that was spread was magical.
Mm-hmm. It really is. Like, I know that people either listening or watching might be like, all right, it's whimsy. It's not that big of a thing. Practice it. Like, once you get into the practice of like being whimsical, it makes such a difference. Like it really does. It's somebody singing in the grocery store because it's their favorite song, and then just being like, yeah, like, go you. Do your thing. Like, I feel like it just, the more I've embraced being whimsical in my life, the more I appreciate other people's whimsy, and I like, it is magical. Like, it really is magical.
And it's yes, it's about fun. Yes, it's about joy. Yes, it's playful. Yes, it's childlike. It's all of those things. But please, please do not underestimate what this can do for your needs. Just like go back and listen to the examples I listed out at the beginning of the episode. How many of those made you smile or giggle? Like, even just like Serena hadn't heard most of them. And how many of them, like, either I saw her smile or I heard her giggle as a result of it? That in and of itself, that's the power of whimsy. And so try it in small ways, find the ways of doing it that work for you, and then allow yourself to let the whimsy guide you, because you start off in little small ways and then all of a sudden it's like, oh, I could do this. Oh, I could do this. And as I said, find your whimsy partners in crime, because those people are you're going to create magic together. And like, find people who you can, and it doesn't have to be, you don't have to be raining glitter on an entire island like Serena and I have done over the last however many, I mean, not literally glitter because biodegradable. It's an island. We're surrounded by ocean. But even that's how we added whimsy. So at one point we started off with glitter. We realized glitter was not ocean friendly. So I looked for biodegradable glitter, because we live surrounded by ocean. And therefore a lot of people are going to question, hold on, this stuff that you're throwing everywhere, is it fish friendly? Is it ocean friendly? And so it became this thing that anytime we like flung some confetti, it was like, it's biodegradable. Like, it was like a funny thing. And so much so that everyone around just started doing it as well. Like, we would throw confetti and somebody else would pipe up, it's biodegradable, like little jazz hands on for good measure kind of thing. But it was this, and yeah, that's a serious thing. There was a serious reason that we were doing it, but we made it fun. And I think the more fun and the lightness and the joy and the magic you can bring into it, everything just becomes a little bit easier. And at times, like we are experiencing and have been experiencing, whimsy can be, I'm not going to say it's the antidote to it, but it can be a soothing balm to a life that's got a lot of stress and anxiety in it. So like, we're inviting you to really try out this little home remedy of adding a little whimsy and see. And please share your whimsy with us. Like if you're trying little whimsical things, let us know, because you never know. We may go, oh, that's a good, like how many times do we hear somebody like, there's a few of those things I'm like, oh, I'm doing that. Like I'm taking that on. That's
like
absolutely
to-do
added to the list. Yeah. The to-do list. I mean, like, and so this is how we can help, is we can spread the whimsy by sharing the whimsy with other people we know like to be whimsical. And who knows, you might add a little bit more whimsy to our lives. Anything else you want to add before we finish up for today?
I'm good.
So we will leave you with your whimsy. We'll be back next week with another episode. Between now and then, remember to, well, firstly, thank you for listening. Between now and next week, remember to stay safe, take care of yourself, and continue to meet your own needs. Lots of love. Bye.
Bye, friends.
That's it for today. If you like what you heard, please subscribe, rate, and give us a written review, as it will help more people find us.
And remember, a little bit of whimsy can go a long way when it comes to meeting your needs.
Well, shit. It really is that simple.